Bitcoin has crossed $100,000. This is a milestone that has been achieved that is remarkable. I didn't know that there was this many people that didn't like the environment. I didn't know that there was this many people that were criminals. I didn't know that there was this many people that were gambling. I didn't know that there was this many people buying illegal things on the internet. I didn't know any of these things. That's who Bitcoiners were. And now who Bitcoiners have become is BlackRock. Just think about what I've just said here. This is phenomenal, an achievement that is unbelievable. However, there's two sides to this video for me, and that's why I want to take a second here to the first side of this video is to congratulate those people that owned Bitcoin up till now, whether you started when it first came out, whether you were one of the OGs, whether you were later, whenever you got into it and you've been holding and you are holding right now, I want to congratulate you, because what you have done is you've managed to see the future and you've managed to see the trajectory of a brand new asset without being told that this is what you should do. That is a monumental achievement, and I never want you to ever forget that. This is a psychological break point for this asset, and you're going to see how the marketing kicks up for this asset. You are going to see people who were always against the idea of having Bitcoin in portfolios turn around and add this asset to their portfolios. I want to congratulate you for taking the time, investing the time, making the sacrifices. If you managed to get to one Bitcoin, you have no idea what kind of work you have done and what kind of effort you have put in and what kind of results that's going to lead to your progeny, to every single person that is going to benefit with your last name for you doing the work to getting to at least one Bitcoin. If you have taken the leap of owning other assets and you have converted them to Bitcoin, you have no idea what kind of foresight you have had. We are so early in the birth of an asset. The fact that I got in 2020, I'm very happy for myself, of course. I'm very happy for my friends, very happy for my family. I was blessed enough to already have resources before I found Bitcoin. But of course I'm happy about, what's happened to the value of my net worth, et cetera, and all of that is great. However, the main accomplishment for anyone who has been in Bitcoin before this moment and been holding up to this moment and has understood what Bitcoin is not using it as a trading tool, is not using it as a way to speculate to get more dollars, right? If you truly understand the idea of sovereign Bitcoin, sovereign power, the ability to move across oceans and lands with your wealth without anyone having a say over it, without anyone having their neck or their boot on your neck when you want to decide what to do, that is power, and you have secured that. And that's why, when BlackRock filed for this ETF, I started turning the jets on this YouTube channel and on Twitter. If you haven't followed, please follow, right? Subscribe as well. That's why I started turning the jets on, because I knew what was coming. I saw the game plan. I saw them have it. In 2020, when I first decided, a lot of people have heard my story of when I first got into Bitcoin. I was walking around a park. It was during the lockdown, the first lockdown that happened in London. I was walking around the local park, and I was listening to the Bitcoin Standard. And I was obviously, have a gold background, have a real estate background, have equities background, and Saifedean, in his book, The Bitcoin Standard, mentions the idea of stock to flow. I'm not talking about the price model and things that have gotten famous, but just the idea of stock to flow. And it sort of froze me in my tracks. I remember stopping just while I was walking around this big park and just thinking that I had completely fucked this up, because I was looking at Bitcoin like an equity when I should have been looking at it like a commodity. And from that second, the light bulb went on. And then obviously a year and a half, 2 years into that, I decided to set up this YouTube channel and get people to understand the urgency of getting to one Bitcoin. And it is one of the most pleasurable things that I've had happen in my entire business career, entire life, when I get messages from people saying that they got to 1 Bitcoin, they achieved it, or they moved their assets, they were in real estate, now they pivoted over, and they're extremely happy, and the moves that you're making and the decisions that you are taking as a result, a small piece of it being watching, you know, one of my videos or hearing one of my tweets or hearing me talk anywhere. That is, you know, it's one of the most rewarding things that has happened for me. So I appreciate that. I appreciate every single time one of you guys sends me a message, even if I can't reply to it or whatever, I read every single one. So I truly appreciate this journey that we've been on here. At the same time, I want you to, in your celebration, right in the middle of the celebration, I want you to remember one thing. The reason why I turned the jets on, the reason why we came out and started attacking the doom and gloom boomers, the happy hippies, the $1,000 net worthers, the people the detractors. The reason why I told you that you need to get to 1 Bitcoin as soon as possible, the reason why I kept reminding you that there are only 3 rules to Bitcoin, is that we have reached a point now which, while I'm extremely happy for myself, I'm extremely happy for my friends, my family members, that I managed to get to at least 1 Bitcoin, while I'm extremely happy for all the people that have watched this video, watched my videos, read my tweets, and managed to get value from them, I want you to remember one thing right in the middle of this celebration. There are billions of people that at this point have been completely priced out of ever getting to 1 Bitcoin. And that is happening every 4 years. And I want you to truly be aware of that right in the middle of this celebration of breaking $100,000. Because just put this into perspective, there are 55 million millionaires in the world. And if you ask a millionaire that you know, that's let's say $1 to $5 million of net worth, do you have $100,000 of spare liquidity to put into a speculative asset you just found out about last week because you were watching CNBC and everybody started talking about it? The answer is going to be no. I do not know that many millionaires, like low single-digit millionaires that have $100,000 of liquidity, at least traditional asset millionaires, real estate, equities, blah, blah, blah. Yes, equities is a lot easier, but the majority, the far majority, 70, 80% of people with a $500,000 to $30 million net worth have the majority of that in their property or properties. And so it's a hard ask to sit there with someone who's got a $1 to $5 million net worth, and if they don't take the time to study and the price is just continuously running away, it's hard to sit there and say, okay, put $100,000 into this thing that you don't understand. So we've priced out $1 to $5 million millionaires. And we're on the verge of pricing out $5 to $10 million millionaires, because as soon as we get to 200,000, 150,000 even, I don't know many people that have $6, $7, $8 million of real estate that have $150,000 liquid to just dump into something they found out about last week. They will never ever get to 1 Bitcoin, right? And then of course, if the cycle pans out the way everyone thinks it's going to pan out, then you've actually priced out people in the 10 to 15 to even $20 million range. And so that takes away the majority of millionaires, right? Just because you're a millionaire doesn't mean you have the liquidity to put into something, right? This is why, again, I'll reiterate why I decided to be as aggressive as I possibly could to get as many people to realize the urgency of this. And of course, before I even got into the game, because look, at the end of the day, you know, when I got in, Bitcoin was trading roughly around $5,000, and you still had to have a reasonable amount of resources, right? If you were not, you know, at least high income earning or had a high amount of net worth, you weren't going to buy a significant amount of Bitcoin, right? And very quickly after that 5,000, it breached 20, and that was the end of that for anyone who was even contemplating getting to 1 Bitcoin that wasn't a millionaire, right? So forget all of that. That's already happened before I got here. I'm talking about since I got here, right? And so we're about to experience, you know, a wealth disparity here, and to a certain extent, a changing of the guard that nobody is expecting. right? So I want you right in the middle of this to understand that, because I do not want everyone, I don't want us to turn into a world or a community where we start rubbing into people's faces that they don't have one Bitcoin and they'll never get to one Bitcoin, even though that's what I've been doing for the last year and a half. I know it's kind of weird, but I want you to understand what I'm saying here. It is just too late. It is just too fucking late at this point, right? For the far majority of people. Next thing, and by the way, I'm never going to change my message, but I may retire it. Now is the time for people who are on YouTube, who are in this space, it's the time for the people who have been saying, get to a quarter Bitcoin, get to half a Bitcoin, etc., etc. It's their time now, right? My mission of getting people to one Bitcoin has come to an end, a swift, quick end. And this is all a part of the BlackRock strategy here, because at the end of the day, these flywheels are taking off. We have seen, if you haven't watched my previous video, then go watch that, because that will explain to you exactly how these flywheels are working. These flywheels are taking off. People are getting into Bitcoin that we never thought would get into Bitcoin. We've had headwinds turn into tailwinds with the election of President Donald Trump. We've had the idea of nation states getting in has now become sort of okay, this is happening. This is kind of an inevitability that the biggest, baddest nation state in the world, with the biggest, baddest money printer in the history of the world, is about to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, right? That's a headwind that's now turned into a tailwind, right? It is now behind us. It is pushing us forward. We've got corporations changing. We've got IBIT coming in. We've got ETFs all over the place. We've got options. We've got income strategies. We've got MSTR buying up as much Bitcoin as they can. We've got the bond market sucking up MSTR bonds as fast as possible. All of these are now tailwinds. They are behind us and they're pushing us forward. They're not fantasies. They're not, things that we were dreaming of, et cetera, et cetera. This is happening right now, and the price is about to accelerate, I believe, past 100,000 like we've never seen it before. We are in for one motherfucker of an S-curve moment. That's what we're in for here. And at the same time, I understand that the message of getting to one Bitcoin is now less relevant for more people than it has ever been. So I want you to remember that. I want you to be proud of yourself. I want you to be happy with yourself. I want you to pat yourself on the back. I want you to hug the people that you care about. I want you to love the people that you care about, that you got to one Bitcoin. I want you to take care of those people. And at the same time, I want you to remember to have a little bit of empathy for the fact that this message of getting to one Bitcoin is now basically finished. We have priced out the majority of the world. We've got probably 0.3, 0.4% of the world that this is now relevant for. And those people will be being educated by their advisors, right? If you've got a $30 million net worth, you're going to get your advisor call you and say, hey, let's get into some Bitcoin pretty soon if it hasn't already started happening. So this is where we're at. We've just crossed $100,000. This is just the beginning, because this is a $10 million asset. And we've just started along this adoption curve. So celebrate, be extremely happy, be very proud of yourself, but just remember how many people will never, ever be able to get to one Bitcoin and what that means. Because this is the first asset that we've ever experienced that has true finality of scarcity. Just think about that, have that thought in the back of your mind. It's pretty humbling when you think about it like that. This is the same asset everywhere in the world. It is not a unique thing like real estate, where real estate in London is different to real estate in New York. This is the same asset everywhere in the world, and everyone's chasing it, and most people will never, ever be able to get to at least one Bitcoin. So I want to thank you. I want to say congratulations. I want to say well done, and I want to say let's let this journey continue and see where this goes. I want you to subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, and be very, very proud of yourself if you've managed to make the achievement and the sacrifices and everything else. But just remember, there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.